Hi there, Natalie with you today with a new process video in a project for scrapbooking and cards today. And today I'm going to show you something that is really dear to me, and it's Altenew. I work for them. I love their products, and I'm going to show you some of their newest products in this process. And one of the things that I love doing is using card making products into scrapbooking or memory keeping. So I'm going to show you what the stamp wheel does besides the stamping. So this is one of the newest, and I swear you want to have one. And literally it's a base. The center of the base measures 7 by 7 inches, and it comes with a sticky center, so you actually peel. Think of it like a stamp center that you can add to the stage, and then you can put your paper in there and then just use the flip plate, which is the one you're gonna see me use to stamp your images. So one of the newest releases that we're gonna feature in this project is called Build a Garden Dancing Poppies, and the stamp set comes all in one single stamp. So you literally, I'm just gonna peel it, put it on the center of my stamp wheel, flip the lid, put it in the center of my stamp wheel, add some obsidian black ink, which is their pigment ink, and stamp it onto A2 pieces of paper. I forgot to film that part. But what I want to show you is why this stamp wheel is amazing. Besides the fact that you can stamp, you can create wreaths, because literally the lid, you can move it and create a wreath. The beauty of this, especially for me, because I do a lot of mixed media, is that you can stencil on it without the need of moving stuff or adding washi tape. Because the base is already sticky, I can literally place my paper, move the stencil onto position, and just kind of press down on the stencil, and it will stick onto the base. That means that I am secure, nothing is gonna move, and I can stencil away. So again, this is the Build a Garden Dancing Poppies. This is one of the newest releases, and it's a stamp set, a die, and a stencil. The stencil is like layering one that's gonna help you color. So I'm gonna use some of my favorite inks, and these are the Altenew inks. I'm starting with Pastel Sunrise and using one of the mini ink blending brushes, and you're gonna see that I'm just moving the stencil into position, picking some of the ink and going on a circular motion on the stencil. And I'm gonna keep, once I fill up all the petals, I'm gonna bring a little bit of pink using rose quartz. Once I have that, I'm gonna flip my stencil, find the next set of petals, and then I'm gonna go with the same color. I'm gonna go with Pastel Sunrise. Once I've applied like a soft first layer, I'm gonna go with a little bit of Canyon Clay, which is the darkest color in this family, just to give it that depth of color. And then I'm gonna add a little bit of rose quartz on top of it, just to bring a little bit extra pink onto the petals. Simple as that. I don't need to color. The stencil is doing all the work for me. Now I am going to bring a little bit of coral berry now, just to bring a little bit of extra pink, kind of that deep coral that I'm looking for. Now that I have my first, the center of my flowers, I'm gonna come in with stencil number 2, which is gonna give you the outer petals. And the same, I'm gonna use the same combination of colors. I'm using Canyon Clay to start with. I'm using one of the mini ink blending brushes from Altenew. You're gonna see that I just place the stencil, it gets stuck to the base, so I don't need to worry about moving or anything. And if I stain my my sticky mat, I can wash it and it all clears out. So again, if you can, right now Altenew is pre-ordering this. You can go ahead and pre-order one. You want to have one. It is amazing. So again, I just went and completed my my flower while I'm talking to you, and then I'm gonna work on the leaves. This is a stencil number 3, and literally I'm just gonna again move the stencil, set it in place, press on the side so it sticks to the base, and then I'm gonna come in with 3 shades of green. I'm starting with Marshland. I want to create again. I applied through my stencil with one of my mini ink blending brushes, just to give it like a soft base to work with. Then I'm gonna come in with Bamboo ink, which is more of like bright green, and again I'm gonna apply it onto all my leaves. This set, it actually has a lot of movement, which I love, and it's not like a detailed coloring. It's more like a whimsical look. So you're gonna see that some of the stems are outside of the stamping area. So once I've applied the entire, a little bit of Marshland and Bamboo, I'm gonna move on to stencil number 4, and that's just gonna create extra details for the leaves. So I'm going to use moss for this, which is in the same family as bamboo. So it's just a deeper tone that's going to give you those nice contrast and interest on the leaves. Once I have all that, I'm going to use the die, and the die comes all the flowers in one single piece. So you can have them all done in one shot. Now here's another one of the newest releases. This is called Zero Waste Leaf Die. Leaf Patterns die. So what this does is cuts an A2 card into little tiny pieces. It's gonna give you some branches, some leaves, and also some of these little tiny circles that look like confetti. So what I have done is I have cut an 8.5 by 4.5 inches. I've cut one of the plates. Remember, this doesn't cut ends, it just cuts, you know, the center of it. And then I went and repeated that cut, so I have an entire 8.5 by 4.5 die cut. I'm gonna use both pieces. That's the beauty of this die, that you can use the negative and the positive side. So you're gonna see that right now I'm just taking away the pieces, even the little circles, because we're not gonna waste anything. We're gonna use all of it, and I'm gonna save the negative piece. That's gonna become the piece that's gonna anchor my picture onto the layout. So I'm using a piece of cardstock. I'm not gonna go with white. I'm actually using this teal color. This is from Close to My Heart. And the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set up that negative piece of the Zero Waste Leaf Pattern die. Remember, I cut it twice onto my cardstock, and I'm using a little bit of foam adhesive behind the die cut, just because I want to create a little bit of separation. I want to create a little bit of a shadow dimension. So I'm gonna set it on the top half of my page on the left hand side of my layout. I know that my picture is going to sit right on the center, but I want to have those poppies kind of coming into the page through that piece of cardstock. So I'm just going to trim the excess, whatever's left over, to the left of my layout, and now I'm ready to go. Now here's the one thing. I'm actually going to reach into my pattern paper. I am using, this is the 6x8 paper pad from the Gingham Garden collection from Crepe Paper. I just wanted something that was going to give me that soft look. I want to do something very neutral. I'm actually picking the color of the flooring of my sisters, my niece and nephew, for the just to frame my picture. That's all I'm doing. I'm just framing my picture with the pattern paper. Once again, I'm going to set it right on the center of my page. That means that it's going to sit on top of that negative piece of die cut that I created. I am adding some foam adhesive just to give it some height, and here's where we're going to start embellishing this layer. So we already have some interest on the background with all that negative die piece, and then I'm going to bring those dancing poppy die cuts that we created, and literally I'm going to make them look as if they're coming into the page from the top left corner of the page, and they go through or on behind the photo, and they're going to cascade to the bottom right corner of the picture. So think of it like a cascade of poppies. That's what I'm going for. So now that I have my poppies in place, and I'm just playing with them, there's quite a bit of movement in the design of the stamp set that it makes it so easy to create that kind of flow on my page. Now here's where I'm going to bring that negative piece that we had left over from the Zero Waste, and this is the name of the die, Zero Waste Leaf Pattern die. I'm going to use the negative pieces. I'm going to use some of those leaves to help me create the cluster of flowers. Think of it. I have that background already with the cuts of the leaves. I'm going to bring some of them onto this cluster to just bulk it up, and also to bring the idea from the background onto my page. Very simple. I don't want to add a lot of color because I want the colors of the poppies to actually bring that, you know, the motion and the color onto the page. I have the picture of my niece and nephew. They were in a lot of neutrals, a lot of blue, so that's what I went with, something with red, kind of the pinkish tone, so everything will be nicely popping on the page. Once again, I'm going to reach for some foam adhesive. I am using 3L square what do you call them, foam adhesive, and I'm just gonna add it to the corners or to the tips of the flowers just to create a little bit of lift. And I'm gonna do the same with the leaves. So I'm gonna secure everything. I might take it off camera to do it because it takes me a while to make sure that everything is nicely secure. And then once I come back, then we have to start worrying about a little bit extra embellishments for this layout. Now, one of the things that I am using for this is some stickers from the gingham garden collection from Crepe Paper. I wanted something on the bottom left corner of the picture, and so I went into the foam stickers for this collection and I found this banner looking piece. So what I'm gonna do is I'm literally gonna hug the picture with the banner. So you're gonna see that I'm gonna lift the picture, take out the foam adhesive that was behind it, those little pieces, and then literally run the banner so that it's hugging the bottom left corner of the photo. It just happened that I didn't want to cover any of the faces or the pieces of my niece or nephew, and it just was the perfect placement. Now I want to bring some movement onto the page more than what it has. I am using a past stamp set from Altenew. This is the Metal Reflections, and I want to use the butterflies out of that set. So I'm stamping them with black obsidian ink. This is just black pigment ink onto white cardstock, and I'm going to use the die to cut them. While I was cutting, I also created my title. I am using the XOXO and more die set to cut parts of my title. I cut the word smile and the word hello out of brush rose metallic cardstock from Altenew, and I cut the backing because it comes with a shadow. I cut the word smile out of white cardstock and the shadow for the word hello out of vellum. So all I'm doing right now, I cut the little script word smile twice, one out of the metallic cardstock, one out of the white cardstock. So I'm just layering. That's just going to give it a little bit of dimension. So all I'm doing is just using my fine tip glue to just attach the die cuts onto the shadows, and once I have them ready, I am actually going to set them aside, so let them dry and work on the next part of the title. For this, I am using another die set from Altenew. This is the Linear Pathway Alpha, and I'm using the bold part of it. It's a two-part die. One creates like a little outline, and I'm using the bold part, the part that comes inside, and I've cut this 3 times out of a heavy white cardstock, and I spelled the word Easter. So now that I've glued the 3 pieces, I cut it, like I said, cut it 3 pieces, so I'm going to stack them together. That's going to give you the resemblance of chipboard. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to spell the word Easter right at the bottom right corner of my layout, right underneath the cluster of florals. So you're gonna see that I'm spelling the word, I'm using my ruler to keep it in place, and I'm gonna bring that sticker again. That's from the Gingham Gardens collection from Crepe Paper, and then I'm gonna bring the word smile. I'm gonna add a little bit of foam adhesive because I want it to sit right next to the word Easter, right on top of the sticker. So I make sure that I measure everything so everything will fit nicely in my page. And then the word hello, I'm gonna set it right on top of the word Easter, between the E and the A, and that's where I made it out of vellum, so it kind of translucent on the background. I'm gonna bring those butterflies that I created with the Metal Reflection stamp and die, and I'm gonna put them one on the title and one on each one of the clusters of flowers that I have, even on the banner. That's just gonna help me tie all of this together. Now I need to give it just a little bit extra. I could have gone with sequins, but remember that I said the die that I created the background with is called Zero Waste Leaf Pattern Die. It actually creates these little tiny circles, which I'm gonna use as my little enamel dots. So literally I'm just adding little drops of glue and adding those little circles. So you can cut this out of gold glitter paper, and then you have little little enamel dots for you ready. And that's about it. Love how this turned out. This is like one of my favorite things to do, start with cardstock and create something, and I hope you try it. As always, check all the details in the blog, and don't forget to check the new releases from Altenew. You're gonna love them. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope to see you soon. Take care, guys.